Hello and welcome back. If you've and thank you very much to many of you who've subscribed or recently subscribed to my YouTube channel. Um, Much of the interest probably being generated by the stuff I've been putting out to do with the Enneagram and in particular with what I've called the fourth way Enneagram, which is really the Enneagram as Gurdjieff first taught it, which is more about the process of transformation, the alchemical process of transforming oneself from the earth dust into the gold dust of the person that we really potentially can become, divine human beings, as it were, Christ-like beings, Buddha-like beings. So just to say also that you may have seen some of the stuff I've put out recently to do with the historical roots of the Enneagram, the roots and the lineage of the Enneagram. We have to distinguish between the Enneagram symbol and the modern personality Enneagram that is derived from it, but has different roots as well. It also going back to ancient wisdom. I was attending a course recently done by the CP Enneagram Institute. That's I believe it's Chestnut, B Chestnut, B Chestnut and Urania Pays. It's there are some of my teachers, a couple of my teachers, Enneagram teachers, and they were talking about the ancient story of the Enneagram as well. And something I picked up therefore was that although in the video I talked about the ancient roots of the Enneagram possibly going back to ancient Egypt, although Gurdjieff, the Sufi group that Gurdjieff founded in, probably goes back to ancient Mesopotamia. But anyway, ancient Egypt is important. And it's important because of the wisdom tradition there, which one of the people behind the origins of the Enneagram symbol, which are hidden in mystery, it's not there's no way that you can prove it because there's no actual trace of the Enneagram symbol in the ancient writings, and that's probably deliberate because it was kept as a very as an esoteric secret, really, and only passed on to initiates, people who were following their teachers and who the teachers felt they could entrust this wisdom, the symbol that embodied this wisdom. So one of these characters that goes, it was Hermes Trismegistus. He, I mean, he's reputedly possibly the author of the Corpus Hermeticum and the Emerald Table, and anyway, somebody who contributed to what has become known as the perennial wisdom traditions that go back and lie at the root of all the main religions of the world. But most of the religions, at least in their institutional form, have lost touch with these wisdom traditions, and it is only the mystical streams that keep them alive. Anyway, he was somebody I've just realized that I could have included in that, in amongst those who obviously contributed to the wisdom symbolized in the Enneagram symbol. Now, the other video that some of you have watched, many of you maybe have watched, is what I put out as the first of the series of videos on the fourth way Enneagram. In point of fact, quite a few people have been asking about how they can see the other videos. Well, you can view these videos. They will be available for those who register for my fourth way Enneagram course hosted by the Edinburgh International Centre for Spirituality and Peace. And that starts on Sunday, the 7th of May. It's going to be hosted live at 7 p.m. British summertime. But I recognize that there are many people from across the world who won't find that convenient in terms of time. So if you register, you will be sent a link to the video. You will miss out, obviously, on the group participation and the conversations, but you will receive not only the video, but also some other material that you can use to work on yourselves as well. As far as the first video is concerned, the first fourth way Enneagram video is concerned, which I entitled the Human Machine, which introduced key concepts concerning the way that humans function and the psycho-spiritual structures of the human personality. I've updated that, I've improved it. So even if you have seen it before, you'll see some new stuff in there. So far as the other ones are concerned, I'm just going to talk through some of the other videos now, just in terms of the content. The second session is going to be I'm going to introduce two of the laws which are symbolized in the Enneagram. The law of one symbolized by the circle, and the law of three symbolized by the triangle. Now, Gurdjieff called the law of one, the law of one is really the law of sacred unity. It's the law of unity and diversity, a fundamental principle of the perennial wisdom traditions. And then the law of three is all about how something new comes into being, and Gurdjieff called it the law of world creation. And again, you can find out what that means when I talk about it. So the third session is all about the law of seven, which is the third of the laws, represented by that funny hexad lines joining up numbers 1, 4, 2, 8, 5, and 7. That is really about a law which governs how something grows and develops and becomes it's really a law about transmutation. And that's a very, very difficult law to understand, but very important in terms of personal growth. And so I'll be introducing it in that. And what I'm going to do is to ground it in a very practical example of how something gets formed and created, and the process, if you like, of creating something. And that is the idea of making a vase of pottery. Using a television program that's broadcast here in the UK, the Great Big Pottery Throwdown, as a sort of example. But it functions as a kind of metaphor for our own personal journey of growth as well. And then the fourth session, I'm going to apply this to the process of human development much more, especially talking about levels of consciousness and how we move up from one level to another level of consciousness and what is involved in all of that. Towards the end of that, you will see how the various different centers that Gurdjieff talked about, 3 of which come into the modern personality Enneagram, I link a little bit to the chakras of the Eastern traditions. And in the final session, as I'm going to be talking about, and I'm focusing totally on the idea of dust to gold dust, the alchemy of the law of seven. Oh, sorry, I've missed out the fifth session, the penultimate, which I'm talking about will, being, and function, and it's really a dive into much more of the slightly more technical aspects behind our understanding of the Enneagram symbol. But it's extremely important session, particularly to understand why human beings are stuck in the way that we are, stuck at this sort of very low level, often functioning without true awareness, without being able to wake up. So that will be my 5th session. And then the 6th session, finally, a good one to end up on, from dust to gold dust, the alchemy of the law of seven. So that's probably enough said. Now, because I can't put a direct link to the website for the Edinburgh International Centre for Spirituality and Peace, where you can see all the details and how to register. There's a registration button that you can use at the bottom of that page. I will be putting it in a comment attached to this video. So I look forward to you being able to see these other videos, which I think are very significant, very important for the process of human transformation. The final thing I want to say is that I'm very much doing this as a learner, a fellow learner along with you. One can never really describe oneself as an expert. All experts are still learners, and although I've done a little bit of extra study, I've read the original books by Gurdjieff, for example, and some of his earlier followers. And so, and I spent some time practicing the practices myself, but I'm still very much a person who's on the way in the process of growth. So with that, I will say goodbye. Enjoy the course when you get to it, and don't forget to look up the Edinburgh International Centre for Spirituality and Peace. Their events page has my course on it. Thank you.